don't get your own chair anymore? Sure. I've got 6:30. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Town of Waukesha Town Board meeting, November 13th, 2014, beginning at 6:31 p.m. I'd like to call the meeting to order and begin with the roll call. Oh, okay, we can start with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now we can call the roll.
Chairman Merrick?
Present.
Supervisor Radke?
Here.
Supervisor Wolf?
Here.
Supervisor Durr?
Here.
Supervisor Fisher?
Here.
Thank you. And Madam Clerk, have we met all of the open meetings laws requirements?
Yes, we have.
Okay. And before we begin, just a couple of comments about some of the events from Tuesday night's public hearing. In review of the public hearing, I realized that at times I may have become overly emotional and somewhat more aggressive than necessary in defending the budget and the town of Waukesha. The reputation of the town of Waukesha and the town board is very important to me, and at times on Tuesday evening I felt those issues may have been under attack and felt necessary to defend them. In that process, if I offended some or became overly aggressive for that, I apologize. And we can move on then with citizens' comments.
Good evening, Mike Borchert, West 231, South 5205. This is an item I mentioned in the past, and I think it's a good time to the board look at it and get a notice sent out. It's regard to section 6-3-12, Uniform Street Address System. We still have a tremendous amount of residences out there that do not have the proper address numbers posted. Number one priority is safety. We all know that when there's an emergency, time is of the essence. Minutes can mean a matter between life and death. And the emergency vehicles use these to find locations of whatever they need to do. It also aids in other deliveries and also aids other residents when there is a non-compliance issue and they can't find the address, because if they need to file a complaint, they got to have the address. Otherwise, it won't go through. Also, I'm going to give a copy that can be passed around here. And in Title 16, there is a section 16-1-4, miscellaneous fees, covers the cost of buying the numbers in the frame, and going back to the original 16-3-12, talks about the fine of $50 in there, and if the owners do not comply, that the town will go out and do it for them and add $50 onto their next tax bill. My suggestion is, if it's legally possible, to send a notice out with the tax bill that's coming out. I understand there's a newsletter going out too, but a lot of people just take those and throw them away. The tax bill, they have to open. So I don't know if it's legally acceptable to add something in with that. Have to be looked into. I'm going to give these copies to Supervisor Fisher. They can be passed around and look at them later, so you don't have to look them up. Give them to Kathy, whatever you want to do. And I have one other item. On this evening's agenda, new business, item C, is a request for an extension on non-compliance. I was not involved in any complaint on this issue, but I am aware of the situations on the property because there have been concerned citizens that have talked to me about it because they know I come to a lot of meetings and know the codes. And I believe the only thing left on the property, non-compliance, is a small outbuilding that actually is a little metal shed and doesn't comply with anything. And I think it's only fair that it be removed and they apply for proper permits and drawings and everything else. The reason I'm saying is 1992, I built a back garage and I had to go before the board, planning commission, provide all kinds of drawings. And one of the questions that I was asked is about the materials. And they were very insistent that all those materials match the house construction. In 2012, I added on and rebuilt the garage, and the same question was asked to me. And even though it was on the drawings, and if I didn't have that on there and tell them I was going to be exact matched to the architecture and materials, I wasn't going to get the permit. So I don't believe there should be any extensions or variances for this situation. Thank you.
Hi, Wayne Krzyzanowski, West 254, South 4360, Pin Oak Lane. Even though it was done in the past, I don't understand why we don't establish a cap on highway expenditures. The wisdom of our state legislature put a cap on a cap not to exceed $5,000 per mile. I would like to suggest establishing a cap of something rather than giving a blank check for any value to be filled in. After Tuesday's meeting, I was left with the impression that the sewer hookup to the city bill will be paid with funds from the 2014 budget. I hope that this bill has not been paid yet and will not be paid until the work is completed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sandy Hom, West 230, South 3827 Milky Way Road. A couple things from the meeting the other night too, and I think the comments that we opened with was well appreciated. One of the things that was encouraged by one of the residents was that we all participate and come to meetings, and I think it's instructive that we have quite a fewer people here tonight, and it would be nice if more people came, but I try to regularly come. The other thing that was said, I think it was one of the supervisors said they didn't receive any emails and they wished that they had, and you could contact them anytime. And so I wanted to point out that on October 23rd, I emailed all 5 board members and the clerk. And I specifically asked at the bottom of the email, the closing paragraph was, "This email has not been a rhetorical exercise. I would like any or all of you to respond to me directly," it's italicized, "so I can participate appropriately at the town level." The clerk responded with her receipt, and one of the supervisors, Supervisor 1, did respond to me. None of the other 4 of you responded in any way. There was about 2.5 years ago, I had another incident trying to get a hold of one of the supervisors, and it wasn't until I sent a certified registered letter to their home that I got a response. So it doesn't seem very responsive to me, and I would appreciate it if I could get a response. And my question the other night was quite genuine and sincere. It was not gamesmanship. I'm truly confused as to what the philosophy of taxation is. In any case, Item 6 for tonight, current business, is the recycling agreement. And my question is, has that been signed yet or not? I certainly look forward to the improved recycling. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Seeing none, we'll move on. New business, discussion and possible action on the reduction of letter of credit for Rolling Oaks Phase 1. Engineer Janelli is here with us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My letter should be in front of you, dated November 3rd, 2014. We've received a request from Belinsky Homes, who are the developer of the Rolling Oaks Phase 1 subdivision. They have completed the pavement and repairs that were necessary, and we recommend that a reduction in the letter of credit take place. I must note that my letter is incorrect in the amount of retainage that we typically leave behind for a 1-year warranty period. It's typically 20%. However, in this case, with the development being as far along as it is, I feel comfortable with the amount that's on the bottom of my letter there of $73,530.09. Also, as part of this letter, the developer is looking to accept improvements, is requesting that the town accept improvements, and we recommend that you do so. There is a 1-year warranty period that starts after the final lift went on, which was in, I believe, the middle of October. So at October of next year, we'll come through and do a final walkthrough, and any repairs that may be necessary, Belinsky Homes will take care of, and then we'll close out the letter at that time to 0. So for the next year or so, we'll have $73,000 and change on retainer, basically.
Mr. Chairman, I will move to accept the recommendation of Rupert and Melke, Inc. To accept the public improvements for Rolling Oaks Phase 1 and to reduce the value of the letter of credit to the sum of $73,530.09, and I so move.
Is there a second? Second. Discussion?
As a point of order, where are we on the agenda?
We are on 5A.
I have 5A as the 2015 town budget.
You've got no agenda.
Well, and I'm also looking online at the packet.
Look online on the agenda, and look online on the agenda. You didn't bring it with, you want me to make it now?
Please.
Please. Okay, that'll be fine. Thank you.
Yep. Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. If there's no objections from the board, I'd like to take the agenda out of order and move up to 6A, recycling interdepartmental agreement with the county. We've got Perry Lindquist with the county here today, and I'd rather not keep him here all night. He's here to answer any questions that we have and present what is in that agreement and some of the concerns that Attorney Macy had with it. Good evening.
Good evening.
Thanks for coming.
As Mr. Chairman said, my name is Perry Lindquist. I'm the Land Resources Manager for Waukesha County Department of Parks and Land Use. The agreement, I'm not sure how far along you are in the review process, but we're offering this to all the 25 community partners. The primary purposes are twofold. One, to roll out a larger recycling container with our new single stream system. The reason is that you mix paper, containers, glass, bottles, cans, everything together, it gets a real, much more loose, compacted, instead of separating the papers from your containers. When you put the two together, it takes up a lot more space. It's a lot easier for the people to recycle, and we're accepting more materials with the new system. So all in all, it requires more space. Most of the communities are going to the large 96-gallon carts on wheels. That allows it to be an automated pickup system as well, and you can go to a every other week system. Originally, we were talking about buying these larger containers, and after meeting with the community several times over the past couple of years, it was felt the better option would be to just include them in your collection contracts, and the county would just fund them through this intergovernmental agreement. The second part of the agreement is a direct haul to the city of Milwaukee, where we're joining forces on a new recycling center. If you were around during the past few years, we've been studying this since actually 2007. We knew the industry was moving towards a single stream system. We were still a dual stream, separating papers from containers. All the haulers in the area had already switched. When we bid out in 2008, or we tried to coordinate a collection contract for the communities, we only had one hauler, and that was Veolia. Now they're ADS, or Advanced Disposal. So they were down to one contractor that even offered dual stream collection. Since then, now they've also switched to single sort, single stream, we call it. So at any rate, the new facility will be built in cooperation with the city of Milwaukee, because when we looked at building or redoing our own facility, it ended up with about a 58-year payback. It's very expensive to put in single stream processing equipment. So by combining our tonnage with the city of Milwaukee, it reduced that down to about a 15-year payback. They were in the same boat that we were. They were in an old dual stream facility. They needed to upgrade as well. So anyways, after years of study, that led to that downtown option. When we first signed that contract and the agreement with Milwaukee, we were anticipating using the old facility in Waukesha here as a transfer station, and then the communities would continue to drop off the recyclables there, and then we would load them up into and compact them into a large walking floor trailer. But when we did the collection contract RFP this spring, we found out it was about half the price if we just had the communities directly haul it downtown. The new facility is right in the Menominee Valley, across the river, on the north side of the river from where Potawatomi is, if you know where that is. Basically in the shadow of the Market Interchange. It's 18 miles from here to there. So what we're offering in this agreement is a reimbursement of those direct haul costs. So it's saving us all money. This whole program is run, I was explaining this earlier, as an enterprise fund. So if it saves the county money, it saves you money. When the program was established as an enterprise fund, the county borrowed the money, and we slowly paid it back, we as in the 25 partners, through recycling grants from the state and the sale of recyclable material. Those are the two sources of revenue. There is no tax levy that goes into this program. I think the attorney had a couple questions in the agreement about, what happens to the facility in Waukesha, and I don't have the authority to make that decision, but I'm assuming what's going to happen is after we get it cleaned out, we're going to salvage all the equipment. That's part of the contract before we open up downtown in Milwaukee. And then we're probably going to put the building up for sale. And then that asset, the money from the sale, would go back into the recycling fund and again back to the communities through these dividend payments. So
that was one of the questions.
Okay.
Some of the other questions from the attorney, the first one was the amount of grant that we could potentially receive from the state if we went out on our own and did this. rather than in combination with the other municipalities in the county, versus what we're gonna receive for rebates, and that there's no guarantee of a rebate from the
Right.
county. I think we all got an email, Kathy, I think you distributed that, where Dale Shaver answered part of that question, which is the combination of the recycling bin reimbursement that we're going to receive and the transportation reimbursement is about $40,000. Is that a correct number for the town of Waukesha?
Yes, yes,
And our estimated state grant would be about $28,000.
correct.
Over and above that, then we also receive the rebates from the amount of tonnage that the town of Waukesha would send to the MRF. Assuming those numbers are all corrected,
The 40,000 is basically the rebates from the tonnage. The other 25, so next year's dividend payment to the town would estimated to be about 65,000. The other 25 of that is this intergovernmental agreement, the direct haul payments and the bins, the recycling bins.
one of the other questions was, what if the county decides that they're gonna hire many more excessive employees than they would need to run the operation, and eats up all of the potential rebate fees that the other municipalities, us included, would be receiving? And is the county actually running that facility themselves?
No, it's a totally privatized facility. It's the contract that we let last year. It was very competitive, by the way. We had, I think, 6 different proposals from companies that specialize in operating these facilities. And it's the contract that we sign is for 10 years with a possible 5-year extension. That's why we're trying to coordinate these agreements to be about 10 years as well, so everybody's collection contract and the processing are on the same timeline. It's a design, build, operate contract. Very unusual for government to be able to do that. It's actually got a statutory exemption just for these types of recycling facilities because they're very unique, and you don't want people finger pointing about who designed it, who built it, and then the operator doesn't like the way it's done. This way you get the same people involved every step of the way. It's high tech. It's $14 million worth of equipment. Optical scanners are, for example, what determines whether it's a plastic number 1, number 2, number 4, whatever. So it's quite an interesting facility. Sometime when we get it up and running, I'd encourage you to come down and visit it.
How is your operator paid? Are they paid, is their pay performance-based?
Yes, the whole contract has a number of performance standards built into it. They have to process 30 tons per hour. That was the design of the equipment. They have to capture 98.5% of the recyclable materials that gets delivered to the front door. And the way we enforce that is through monthly audits of they call it the residue bin. So after it goes through a recycling process, it separates out all the different commodities, and then whatever isn't captured goes into a residue bin. We grab samples of that, or we have a company that does that, and they sort through it, determine by weight what percentage they missed. If they miss more than 1.5%, we charge them a penalty based on how much we would have received for revenue had they captured that material. So it's a very tight contract. Did I answer the question already?
I think so. Any questions for Mr. Lindquist?
You said that the anticipated payment for the town of Waukesha next year is $25,000 for the direct haul and the bins, and then an additional $40,000 for the grants and recyclable sales?
Yes. Just be sure that's an estimate, because the way the formula works, it's like it depends on everybody's recycle rates and their tonnage and all that. So
Understand. I just want to make sure
Okay.
I had the breakout correct.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
So as I understand it, the facility's built, but it's not running?
No, it's under construction right now. In fact, some of the equipment is arriving tomorrow. I think about what day is today. They're in the process of finishing all the concrete work down there, and then over the next few months, they'll be setting up the equipment.
So until that's up and running, we continue to use the current facility?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it's actually the same company that's operating our current facility. Just happened to be that they also won the bid for the new facility.
And who is that?
They're called Re-Community. They're out of North Carolina.
Re-Community?
Re-Community.
When do you anticipate that facility up and running, the new facility?
Well, that's the question of the day. It was supposed to be in January. I think we're going to be a little late. I don't know if you've heard about the concrete shortage. Well, we're pouring about 1,000 yards of concrete down there, and they're getting about 9 yards a day right now. I think we have 200 yards to go. Things like that are slowing us down. So.
Other questions?
I did bring along a final copy of the agreement. There was several blanks in it that needed to be filled, so I put in the town's name. I inserted the rate that you have, I believe, for your direct haul. It's 22 cents per household per month. So that's put in here as well. So, I mean, this is basically ready to sign, if you would.
Is that accurate, Supervisor Durr? Thank you.
Our recycle cost is $252 per house per month. We didn't have a direct haul breakout. Yeah, we didn't have a direct haul breakout.
Okay.
Yeah, the way we calculated that was we asked them for two prices. Either they delivered it to the MRF here or they took it downtown. And then we just subtracted those two to come up with the 22 cents. So, which is the maximum that we're offering communities anyways.
So we'll get, for the direct haul cost, we're gonna get 22 cents per house per month?
Correct. And then you're planning on using the 96, the big carts with the wheels? Yeah,
Yes.
so that would be 44 cents
Right.
for those per household per month.
Anybody have any further questions with regards to the letter from Attorney Macy?
I guess I would just ask Chairman Merrick, we do have a summary here of some comments that Attorney Macy apparently, or he describes it as a summary of discussion that he had with you regarding various agenda items, and I see he's got a couple sentences directed to this particular item. Can you just comment on that or expand on it a bit? It's on the top of that third page.
Well, you have a copy of his
those green sheets. I understand that, but all I'm saying is he kind of summarized his comments, thoughts on the top of the green sheet here, references back to it. I mean, he indicates in there that several clients, I'm assuming other municipalities, are looking to work with other communities to see if they can get the county to address the concerns set forth in his letter, and then several of his clients have adopted the agreement subject to addressing the issues in his letter. I mean, is there anything to add to that, or does that simply speak to itself?
Yes. We can go through them one by one if you like. The first one is the distribution formula regarding dividends. And I think, Mr. Lindquist, you had contact with Attorney Macy regarding a potential formula. The answer to that from the county was very simply, you're going to receive more in grants. You're going to receive more in just the transportation and the rebate or reimbursement from the containers than you would from your grant that you would potentially receive from the state. And then the distribution from the recycling would be, I think you mentioned icing on the cake. That's how the county answered that part of Mr. Macy's letter. Next one was,
Just before we leave that, because as I understand this, if we leave this agreement, then there would be no reimbursement for the container costs. Is that correct? If we didn't sign this agreement,
Correct,
we'd be on our own as a community to pay for our recyclable container costs,
yes.
as well as transportation.
as well as transportation,
The next one.
which
what-
is about $25,000 a year combined.
Yes, the next is what happens to the existing MRF, and that facility, you answered that question. It's going to be likely sold, and those funds would go back into the enterprise fund, which is distributed to the communities.
And I heard you comment that you're not the one to make that decision, but, and I appreciate that. I also very much appreciate you being here this evening. So who is that decision maker, and what level of assurance do we have on that?
It would be the county board.
'Cause I mean, that's a fair amount of money, I'm guessing. It's property and plant, right?
Absolutely, but the bottom line is, if it gets sold, if the county doesn't retain ownership of it, if it gets sold, it's contractual in here someplace, I understand, that we as a participant, that money does flow back to the enterprise fund for sure.
Well, yes, that's how an enterprise fund works. So the enterprise fund paid for the facilities, so it owns it. But as far as selling it, yeah, that would be a county board decision.
That concerns me.
Well, I don't know why in the world they would keep it, to tell you the truth. It's like, well,
I can probably think of 1,000,000.2 reasons.
really?
Well, whatever it's worth. And if I'm sitting on the county board, it's not, is it beyond the realm of anybody else's comprehension that that money could get rolled into the county budget?
No, it can't. Contractually, it has to go back into the enterprise fund, and you correct me if I'm wrong, please.
That's, yes, I mean, there's no contract for it. That's just how enterprise funds operate by definition under audit guidelines and all that, so.
But I thought
Now,
when I,
you know, for example, the transportation fund at the state is an enterprise fund, so
okay,
could it happen? Sure, but that's not how the county does their business, I can tell you that.
Now, Dale had mentioned that it was contractual, and apparently that's Dale Shaver had, and apparently that may not be accurate,
Contractual, yeah,
that it has to roll back into the enterprise fund?
I don't know what that would mean, contractual.
but then what am I missing with when you say that it is up to the county board? Maybe that's the part that
I'm just saying, any property exchange has to go through county board. That's, you know, if they sell an acre of land or buy an acre of land, it has to go through.
So the
county board.
discretion to sell it would be up to the county board.
Correct.
But if it's sold,
Then the money goes to the enterprise fund.
I misunderstood that.
Okay,
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I didn't
Yeah.
make that
No,
clear.
thank you.
Next. Attorney Macy was concerned about a 10-year term. That's purely a policy decision of the board. From my perspective, we have a very good contract that with ADS that even in its 7th year is less than we pay currently by, I believe, and Supervisor Durr helped me, is that about $70,000 or $80,000, even in year 7, than our current cost? And from my perspective, I don't have any trouble entering into a longer-term agreement with that particular contract.
Yeah, and we were trying to match your collection contracts with this agreement. What that does, by the way, is it allows the haulers then to amortize all those capital costs over a longer period, and it reduces your costs in your collection then.
His next question was concerning Waukesha County backing out of the deal to pay for the containers and extra hauling.
Yeah, and my response, if you saw the letter, was we used very conservative business modeling to set up this whole program going downtown. So I'm quite confident they'll have no problem covering the 10 years in this contract.
Mr. Fisher, does that answer your questions?
It does, I thank you, and moving forward on this, in as much as you, Chairman Merrick, and Supervisor Durr have been front and center on this in recent weeks, and I think more informed than many of the rest of us, I'm kind of looking to one or the other or both of you to make a recommendation on how we should proceed with this matter, considering attorneys Macy's counsel and so forth. I guess I'm looking to one or the other or both of you to at least give me some recommendation as to what you think we should do this evening.
Okay. One last question. Can you tell us what communities have agreed to this document so far?
No, I couldn't. I know there's been a half a dozen that have come in. They're all kind of in the same phase you are, where they're finalizing contracts and signing these, in the next couple weeks.
Okay.
I know Delafield was one of the early ones.
What would happen if you wouldn't get the economies of scale that you're anticipating? What if not enough of them sign up?
Well, this agreement doesn't change that. I mean, this agreement is just to ensure that you guys are getting reimbursed for those two costs, the containers and the direct haul. But the rest of the business model is based on the tonnage that is generated by the 25 communities. And again, having been thoroughly involved in this business modeling for this, I think it's very solid. We're anticipating a 25% increase in our tonnage because of this switch to single sort. I think that's an underestimate, quite frankly. I think. Can you
say that again?
We're anticipating, all the studies suggested that we'll see a 25% increase in tonnage by switching to the single sort system, just because it's so much more convenient for the homeowner, and because we're collecting additional plastics and other containers. So I'm thinking it's going to be more than that.
Mr. Fisher, your direct question was, do we have any recommendations based on the other communities that have signed that I'm aware of, and I think I'm aware of the city of Pewaukee, Waukesha, Delafield, I believe New Berlin, Summit, Lisbon. I don't know about the others. I just happen to have had contact with most of those, and that they are, and I think Brookfield also.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just not tracking it when my staff is.
The city, yes. My recommendation would be, let's move forward. Let's get the advanced contract, which we had two more minor tweaks, very minor tweaks that they've agreed to tonight. Get these two signed and move forward.
I guess I would make a motion that we table this until the December 11th meeting.
Second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll table it till a date certain of December 11th. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Going back in order then, we're on to 5B, the town budget. That has been resolved as of Tuesday evening, so we can move on. C is a request by David and Amy Grudemat to discuss an extension for noncompliance property at South 52 West 22955 Hunters Hollow. And I think the Grudemats are here for us tonight. Good evening.
Hi. I'm Amy Grudemat, and this is Dave Grudemat, and we are requesting an extension for our shed on our property. I want to go over kind of things that have already happened. we received an original letter from you guys on the 27th, or from the inspections, independent inspections. And they stated on here that there were several things that we were not in compliance with. So, like a few of them was we had multiple grills out on our patio. So we have 4 grills out on our patio. One is a charbroil grill that we have that's an infrared. Another one we use is a Weber grill that we do more of our steaks on. And another one is, which is a gas grill.
It's a fire pit.
And then another one we have, which is like a fire pit that we burn stuff with. And another grill we have is one that is just to put like charcoal inside of it. So what we did is we moved all the stuff to the side. I don't understand if they thought that these things were inoperable. I don't understand that. So I had called Kathy a week before. We were supposed to have all these things in compliance to understand, and really couldn't get an answer on that, but we did move like some wood over and rearrange stuff to make things look more presentable, and it passed the inspection. So we hadn't heard back about that. We also had a riding lawnmower on here that was parked out on the grass for a while, because we've had multiple projects going on inside the house. We're trying to renovate and upgrade the outside and do stuff. We got married, and I've been living here approximately a year and a half, and all of these things have started to take place and transpire. So we were moving stuff up from the basement to put in the garage, to get things to go out to Goodwill and make different loads and trips, and we also had people's belongings down there that had to be put up there and moved out. So we've had a lot of different phases going on and things in our house that we want to remodel and do to make our house look better and more presentable. So the riding lawnmower was out there just temporarily, and it would be parked different places, and sometimes, like if a load got out of the garage, we'd park it inside. So that wasn't anything that we couldn't do. And then the next one was the dirt piles in front of on our driveway. Well, I ordered in the beginning of the season to save money 7 yards of dirt, because I redid our whole landscape in the front yard myself physically. We really are limited in what we can do, so I do a lot of work myself. And my husband has neuropathy and diabetes, so he can't do a lot, and it falls on me. So I wheelbarrowed, and we did all kinds of stuff all over and planted bushes. And I just really, again, had called Kathy and said, I don't understand, we're doing multiple projects, and as the topsoil was going down, I was hauling all the clay that I was getting out from planting bushes and flowers, and we planted, 3 new pine trees around the house and to upgrade everything, and we're trying to redo the berms and all this stuff. So the clay pile started getting bigger. Well, I was at the point by the end of summer, after moving my parents up to a retirement facility and all of their problems going on and selling their home, that he rented a loader, and we just took the dirt and just dumped it on the berm, and I just said enough. I don't understand how in 30 days I have to complete all these projects. I can't physically do that. So that was kind of disappointing, but we just said we're just going to comply. So the last item I wanted to talk about is the shed, and what was stated in a letter that it didn't comply because 30% of the roof was rusted. So I got up there and I sanded and wire brushed and sanded the whole roof. And then went out and bought Rust-Oleum, and we bought paint to try to match the house. In fact, I was going to work on the shed the following spring, but because of this, I got forced to do that project earlier. And then I put all the Rust-Oleum on, and then I painted the roof of the shed. Then we thought everything, and meanwhile, too, I want to address the large orange snow plow truck. And that was, the snow truck, the plow has been sitting there since 2009, and no one has said anything to us or complained. That truck has been sitting there and has not been operable. So all this time that's been sitting there. So he had to get mechanics, and you want to state everything that you...
Well, I mean,
brakes had to be put on it, fuel pumps, and
Yeah, I had to do all kinds of work to it, so that cost me a bunch of money to get that out of the driveway. I had to rent a loader to get rid of 400 hours worth of topsoil, so that cost us money. And then we spent the $100 on the paint and Rust-Oleum to paint the shed. And they sent us a letter, we were in compliance. Then a couple weeks later, we got another letter
okay,
saying
that,
the shed is too close to the house now.
okay, so so all this stuff we had been doing in good faith, and, you know, I even called Kathy the week before, and I just said, you know, this is so much, I don't know if we can get this all done. We're having problems with this truck, this truck hasn't turned over in we don't know how long. And so they were working and working and working, and finally rigged something up where they were able to get it moved. But so then all of a sudden we thought it was all done, and we get a letter in the mail, and on September 26th we were in compliance by that day. But then on October 3rd we got another letter from independent inspectors, and all of a sudden they said, well, the shed isn't in compliance. And I'm like, well, we did all the work on the shed. And he said, that it's not far enough away from the house, there was never a permit on it, and it has to look like, you know, the house. Well, that's why I painted the roof blue and the kind of the outside white to try to make it match. In the spring, I was going to paint the rest of it. I just didn't have enough time with everything else going on to paint the rest of it blue to match the house. So in the
now they're saying it's too close to the house.
yeah, but the shed's been there for, I don't know, he moved
Since
in
1990.
he moved in
there
1990, and he put it in a few years after.
I was told two things. I had to call the owner of the subdivision, which was Harmony Homes at the time. I talked to the Bryce Stizer. He said, no problem. He says, you might want to call the town. I called the town, and that's back when everything was running rampant around here. But they said, no problem, just go ahead and put it up. Not a big deal. So I did that. Nobody's said anything for
all these years.
23 years until this last summer.
So what and then I went back and forth, and, you know, I talked to Kathy, and I had talked to Corey. I even talked to Martin to try to figure out ideas or understand, because I didn't understand what we weren't all in compliance about. It took me a while to research this and try to understand and read all the, what are they called? The ordinances or? Ordinances. Yeah, or all the rules or stuff. Okay, so then now what we're asking is, I asked to get on the town meeting. We did get a response back from Corey, and it made a lot of sense, you know, on some of the stuff that we need to do. Okay, but this is a problem. So we've done a lot of work, and we're showing good faith on doing everything. But the problem is now, in order, first of all, I have a bulging L4, L5. I have medical forms here. I'm going through physical therapy right now. I have degenerative back disease, I found out through after all of this. I knew something was wrong with my back. He's got diabetes and neuropathy. We do not have the ability right now to physically to haul all this stuff out of the shed and figure out where to put all this stuff right now, or even to physically move the shed and go get a permit. That's a lot of physical work for me right now. It's freezing cold out. It's going to start snowing. And I don't even know if that's the answer, because when I was up there trying to sand it and paint it and I put my hand on it, it almost bent in. It's so old that I don't even think we can move this thing. So now I went on homeadvisors.com and tried to look at contractors or how much this would cost, even just replace this. And they're talking like $3,000 to $9,000 for a new shed. Well,
we ain't got that.
We don't have that kind of money, and it would take us a while to save for it. And I don't want to jump in and just hire anybody to come do a shed. I would want to research it and figure out how we could cut costs, and to do it appropriately, I don't even know, you know, I'd have to figure out how to go and do all this. So we're asking for an extension into the spring.
What is left that is non-compliant? What are the items left?
Just the shed.
Is it just the shed?
Everything else was done.
Everything else was done. And I said that
And
was fine.
even initially, the shed was compliant because you told us we had to paint it, and I did. But now we got to move the shed. We can't. The shed will not make it. I physically can't do it right now, and we can't afford this. And by spring, we can budget, and we'll be able to do something. But the whole other thing is, if we do have to take the shed down, where do we put all this stuff? You know,
Yeah,
it's
we
just.
don't have the money for storage. storage right
And we don't have the room, and
I'm
I don't,
retired, so it's-
I don't wanna move, we're on a budget. I've been unemployed for the last year and a half. So, I'm asking to the spring, the shed has been there 23 years, and nobody came to us, none of our, in fact, if anything, the last 2 years from all the work I've done on weeding and berms and new things to upgrade. In fact, in a couple of years, I'm gonna get out there, I'll sand, I'll repaint the house, we're trying to make it look nicer. We fixed so many things on it, but we can only do so much. And,
We're basically asking for an extension till it's
and our neighbors had even noticed and drove by our home and had commented on how much they find that we have done. I can even get you letters to show. I will go ask my neighbors. You know, whether we are the type of people that say hi to people when they're walking down the street, or maybe we might go get a tow rope and try and help dig somebody out of a ditch in our subdivision.
Right.
We're those types of people. So we're asking for help, and just should we show good faith? Now, we need help to figure this out and figure out, because even that shed that's so old, we want to get maybe a nicer, a stronger one, and something that would look nicer. I agree.
I understand. We are limited, though, in what we can do by town ordinance and policies that have been enacted. So there's limitations to what we can do, and I believe an extension is 30 days, which is our limit. That's what we can extend.
So you can't change this? You can't do something?
There's nothing I can do till spring, because I got no place to put the stuff that's in it. And, you know,
What do we do? Leave it outside, but then you're going to say you got to remove all the debris around your house. I don't even know.
it's like you can't win, and I know you did have something to do with this.
No, we're not
Stop.
going to
Yeah,
stop.
let's
We're
not
not,
get into
that's
that.
not, we're not
So
getting into that.
is your intention to try to get to spring and then put up a permitted conforming shed?
Yeah, nicer shed in the back where it's,
Not where it is now?
no, because
But
it's only this close to the garage.
It's a couple of feet away from the garage, but
And I agree, we do, it's.
You're on the
open,
corner
I
of
agree.
Hunters Hollow and Hunters Hollow Court?
yes,
And I do agree that, you know, it's.
I just want to make sure I had the right house.
yeah.
I agree, it's gotta come down.
Or I don't know, I mean, because I don't think that can be moved, because when I was painting it, like I said, it buckled, I almost felt like I could go in through it. I got scared being up there that high, up
It's
on the
old.
ladder. So, I don't know, we're doing our best. And it's gonna start snowing and everything, and I don't know what we're gonna do.
What's the pleasure of the board? Is there a motion?
Welcome to our policy.
Well, it's there for a reason.
It is there for a reason.
The problem that we have is that the policy is there and it's there for a reason.
Right.
The ordinances are there for a reason so that residents in the town of Waukesha don't become, don't affect the values of other residences around. And once a complaint is made to the town board or to the inspection department or the planning department,
Right.
we have to follow
agree
up on
with
it.
you. It does have to come down. It does.
Well,
It's-
I don't understand, to me,
But
Is it not a situation where the stuff could be moved into someplace else and
I don't
removed?
have the money for that, and our garage is full right now. So I'm
I'll
not
just,
working.
that's fine, I'll move the car out, we'll just put it in there. I'll just go outside,
But it's
that's
just,
fine.
you know, I guess my point is, we're asking for help. It's been there for 23 years, and I'm just asking till springtime.
It would be so much easier for us to be able to do it this way, and for us to, that, you know, so we'll rent a loader and we'll just have it smushed, I guess, that's what we'll have to do then. And we'll have to put the stuff, I don't know, maybe we'll have to put it out on our back patio somewhere, or figure something out. I don't know, I just, to do something like this and to have 30 days for compliance, I mean, maybe that should be rewritten or given more room for something as asking to move a shed. But, you know, what if that shed is old and then you've got to build a new one? I mean, how long is it even going to take for us to figure out how long does even a shed take to build? I don't know, and financially, who can do that?
See, and the position that we're in, and I drove by your house, I live right on Turner's Pike, so I walk by your house quite often, and I didn't know about this issue at the time, but I have noticed that it's been cleaned up. But the issue is that two things, the way I see it, is number one, it doesn't just affect you.
Right.
It affects others around you, and somebody complained about it. I have no idea who complained about it. We don't have, generally speaking, compliance police. We don't have people driving around looking for violations. That's probably why your shed's been there as long as it has.
Right.
But
Well, and somebody did complain and reported 10 other people, so they're not happy, and I
But
understand that.
once somebody brings the issue to our attention,
All right.
we need to address it.
I mean, I've talked to the
And,
neighbors, and they have no problem with it, but I did tell them it was coming down.
Unfortunately, the obstacles for you can't always weigh into our decision because of the fact that it affects others around you. Now, maybe not your immediate neighbors, maybe they're fine with it, but the reality is somebody filed a complaint. I don't know who it is. It doesn't matter to me one way or the other. It really doesn't. But somebody filed a complaint, and I didn't know anything about it until it was put on the agenda. So, and that's what we're here to deal with. So, it's a bigger issue for us than just the difficulties that you as two
Okay,
folks
and I understand
are
that,
struggling with.
but it could even be a bigger issue on, I understand that people need to be in compliance, but sometimes 30 days might not just be the answer, because, different situations call for maybe different levels of time needed to comply,
And
I
this-
guess is what I'm saying.
And that's why this board has regularly given extensions. The thing that I'm personally struggling with is we're likely looking at end of June, beginning of July, because even if you get moving on it in spring, let's say April or March, I mean, by the time you just get everything done,
Right.
so we're looking at not just a 30-day extension, but we're looking at a relatively substantial amount of time, and that's what I'm struggling with.
I was thinking April.
Okay, but then
You'd
the
never
other,
be done by April, I bet. If I'd give you an extension or if I would make a motion for an extension until April 1st, I bet you'd be here on our second meeting in March looking for an extension.
okay, well, that's why I was gonna suggest, 7 months, right, till June, because I don't know how long this even takes to build something like this and do this.
I was gonna say, the snow's gone, the shit's gone.
Well, we gotta build
Oh,
it,
right.
we gotta
So,
build
April?
something, or I don't
Yeah,
even,
but we can at least, once, easier to find storage and outdoor storage and things like that when it's warmer out. So-
that's the other thing, would they even build anything when it's freezing cold out and the ground is frozen, will they do that? I mean,
You're not supposed to.
Well, it looks like on August 26th, this started.
Correct.
And on September 29th, you were told that the shed was too close.
So
it's-
the original complaint was the shed was, the roof had to be repainted.
I understand, but in the,
Which we didn't mention nothing about the shed out of compliance except for the roof at that.
so the first you heard that it was too close was in,
No.
The second letter.
it was, we didn't know, let's see, let me look at it.
We had a second letter saying we were in compliance with.
October-
With the original.
sure,
was
I'm
October
looking at
3rd.
I'm looking at
October
the,
3rd. It was October 3rd.
okay. So
And
it
then I
shows here
talked to
on,
Kathy on October 7th, and then October 17th, Corey got back to us because we didn't know if we were grandfathered in, because the shed's been there so long. We didn't know when the code was put into effect, because he's been living, if the shed was there so long. So he wrote us a letter back on October 17th and explained everything about the shed. And then on 23rd, I talked to Kathy to get us on the term board meeting and to ask you guys for an extension. And so that's where we are now.
okay, I got it.
Can I, it's correct that they did receive their first non-compliance letter. They complied with everything and passed inspection. And when Corey was there to pass the inspection, then he realized he never noticed that it was too close. So then they had to
okay.
send another one.
Okay.
Gentlemen, what do you want to do? From my perspective, your earlier comment of moving things into the garage and taking the shed down is probably what I'm in favor with. To let it go on for another 6 or 8 months would be a very difficult. It's not. Again. It's as Supervisor Durrett said. It's not just affecting you. It's affecting the other neighbors around you.
Yeah, it's just a matter of paying somebody to do it. I can't physically do it right
Neither
now.
one of
so
us can physically do it.
That's fine.
When I got letters from my chiropractor, if you guys come down, I can physically do it. I don't have the money to pay for it now.
How big is that shed?
10 by 14.
Would you like help taking it down, moving things?
Yes.
I'll make myself available.
Thank you.
I'll be there tomorrow.
Great.
That would be wonderful. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Let me know when it will be done.
Thank you so much.
Make a motion to grant a 30-day extension on the shed.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
That was very kind of you.
Motion carries.
There you go.
Thank you.
You know where we live.
Moving on, 5D, agreement with JPMorganChase Credit Card Company. This is the agreement that Kathy had spoke of. In order to have a rebate, we can start paying more of our bills via credit card and reap some additional income for the town of Waukesha.
The way this company was chosen was by RFP. The county had put together an RFP a few years back. Many municipalities have used it. I happened to speak to a municipal clerk in Milwaukee County, and she said she was getting $68,000 back, or $28,000 back a year in rebates. And I asked her about it, and she said, call Waukesha County. They'll be able to help you. And that's exactly what I did. So we got all the paperwork together, and I'm bringing it forward. The JP Morgan believes that they're hoping to get us to the point where we can be. They expect us to come back with a rebate about $15,000.
The town of Waukesha does have a credit card policy. I believe you all have one. We will need to revisit this at our next meeting because it only applies to budgeted purchases under $500. I think we'd like to pay sums greater than that when we can in order to reap additional rebates from the credit card company. So we'll need to revisit that, but that's exclusive of the credit card contract, which is a standard credit card contract.
Now, the bank company had taken a look at all our vendors, and most of our vendors already accept credit card payments. ADS does, so if you think about what our garbage and recycling costs are, that can be all done on the card and get a percentage back.
Mr. Chairman, two quick comments on that Town of Waukesha credit card policy. If we're going to be looking at that at the next meeting and whatever changes might be made to that, I would just ask if we could have a date or something put onto that document so we know when it's revised. That's a simple thing for next meeting. And I note that in his communication to us, Attorney Macy indicated if we act on this item that we should advise in any action taken whether legal review of the document is needed. The credit card application, for my part, I don't see a need for that.
Agreed.
So I'll make a motion that we accept the credit card agreement with JPMorganChase.
Second?
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. On to E, membership agreement with Xperience Fitness. This is for the fire department. NFPA calls out that we need to have Section A.4.4.2, the fire department should provide an adequate facility for overall fitness, including flexibility, aerobic fitness, and muscular strength where exercise equipment is centrally located. Such a facility can be developed from the following: use of a gym in a commercial facility, a high school, university, or other educational institution or private governmental agency, in-house equipment, equipped through purchased or donated exercise equipment, which can include appropriate equipment obtained from the following resources: made in local apprenticeship programs, made at and donated by correctional or educational institutions, donated by gyms or rehab facilities, or purchased on a shared cost agreement with the governing city. The town of Waukesha has traditionally used Xperience Fitness. Before that, Cardinal Fitness. Is that correct, Dan? We had been paying about $6,000 a year. That's been negotiated down to $3,500 for the next year. And that's what you see before you. Is there a motion?
It's just one question. Looking at this document, maybe somebody can explain it to me, but they have the breakout of how the fee is computed there, and I see there's an enrollment fee of $500, and then they have a first month's dues of $1,500 and last month's dues of $1,500. The sum of those three things adding up to the $3,500, and this for a term beginning the 1st of January 2015 and ending the 1st of January 2016 for that year period of time. That first month's and last month's dues, is that just indicating when this is going to be invoiced, or does anybody know what that means? I mean, it's for a 12-month period of time.
It is.
Can you clarify that?
Yeah, they really don't have their contract is primarily for individuals, and we're a special case for them, so they don't have a contract that fits us. The bottom line is that the yearly portion for all fire department employees, regardless of how many there are, would be $3,500. So they broke it out into their form to make it fit their form.
I mean, doesn't make that much difference? Is this payable at the beginning of the term then its entirety, or are we going to get progress pay or progress invoices on that, or do we know? Or
I think it's noted here that it's paid in full option with no monthly billing. So to me, that
so you
would
think
mean
it's
that
all
it's
up
at
front?
the beginning, yeah.
Okay.
Do we have any idea how many people use this?
Dan, you had estimated at about 60%. Is that accurate?
That's pretty close. It's on a more regular 30.
On that feeling.
Well, it appears there is quite a bit of usage. The statute says that you have to have some type of a program. So shy of building our own or finding something else, and I don't know cost-wise if you'll find anything in the same range. I would be in favor of renewing it.
Mr. Chairman, I will move that we accept the proposed agreement with Xperience Fitness in the amount of $3,500 for the membership term beginning on January 1st, 2015 and ending on January 1st, 2016, and that we do not require this agreement to be reviewed by legal counsel. I so move.
Second? Any further discussion?
So I'm inclined to support this, if anything, just from a position of what is a fairly minimal cost and the amount of savings that we save from the paid-on-call arrangement that we have with our fire department. I think it's very reasonable, but the NFPA quote that we have, it says that we should, not that we have to, but certainly I'm inclined to support this just because of the, in my opinion, the incredible value that we get and the ability of us to hold our taxes down because of the paid-on-call arrangement that we have with the fire department that we do.
Mr. Chairman, a question, and maybe either Clerk Treasurer Nicholas can answer.
Let me, since you made a motion,
Okay.
let's see if we can get a second on, and then.
Oh,
We did.
I'm sorry.
Larry
You did.
seconded.
I'm sorry, I apologize.
Otherwise, I would not.
Go ahead.
Yeah, my question either for Kathy or perhaps for Dan, it is my recollection, we did contemplate this and we do have provisions in the budget for this, do we not?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Anything further? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. On to F, approval of the 2015 Sheriff Services Contract. Madam Clerk, what was we have a 4-year contract that began on,
This is the second year of the 4-year contract. So we have, what this does is it just shows you what the costs are that were agreed upon.
and if we signed a 4-year contract, and I'm assuming that was a 4-year contract that we signed last year,
That's correct. So we have a 3-year left.
why are they requiring an additional contract? Do they have a theory or reason behind it?
But it's just what they send out to all of us. It's just to show us the costs.
Is there a motion?
So what are we voting on if we already have 3 years left?
We're voting on, we're supposed to accept the
New amount?
It's not a new amount, it's
Oh,
same amount.
so they're just identifying it's gonna be the 17.8.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion. I'm looking again at the memo that Attorney Macy has provided to us, and he's saying, I believe that the motion should indicate that we are acknowledging the continuation of this contract at the contracted agreed or contracted increased rates, and I will so move that we make that acknowledgement and approve it.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Further discussion?
I would be inclined not to support this motion. I just don't think we should get in the habit of voting on things that we're in the middle of a contract on.
Anybody else?
We really don't have an option, do we? No, we can't say we don't want to do this anymore. So
We're under contract.
we're obligated to it. So I agree. I'm not sure why we're voting on it other than it appears that the rate did go up a little bit. I believe from one of the squad cars that was,
For risk management purposes, it went up just a little.
so
Was
maybe
that-
that's the reasoning that we've got
Yeah.
to approve
It
this.
is indeed, it's an acknowledgement of the rate,
Okay.
But that's part of our contractual obligation, I'm assuming.
yes.
That's correct.
Call the vote.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. On to G, resolution approving the 2014 trunked radio system contract addendum and authorizing the issuance of a general obligation promissory note to the Waukesha County to pay for infrastructure costs of the new digital radio system. This is in reference to the digital radio system upgrade that we have been anticipating for a number of years. And this is our portion of the infrastructure at the county. It is a zero-interest 7-year, I believe, note with annual payments of $27.57 and last payment of $27.55. We have $4,000 in the budget allocated to this right now.
Mr. Chairman, again, comment I've made before, I don't see a need or purpose to have legal review of this document.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I will move to accept resolution number 2014-18, which applies to the trunk radio system contract addendum and authorizes the issuance of the general obligation promissory note to Waukesha County to pay the infrastructure costs for the new digital radio system, and I so move.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
I'm sorry, I should have spoke up sooner, I'm sorry. So we're taking a loan for $22,054
Yes.
At 0% interest.
at 0% interest. So this is different on the loan that we didn't take earlier, only in the fact that that was 1.5%?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
It kind of, to me, almost a little begs the question of whether it's a loan or not, but that's another
Yeah.
issue.
It's defined here as debt. Okay, thank you.
Anything further? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. On to H, budget amendment for the DPW salaries, FICA and WRS. This is, we're simply moving monies within the public works salaries and benefits to cover their salaries, moving from 53,300.1, 15,386.64, from 2, both of these are, all of these are 53,300.2 FICA, 1289, to 53,300.3 WRS, 1179.47, to snow and ice salaries and wages, 53,310.1, $1,500, and to FICA, 53,310.2, $114.75. Those funds will be coming from 53,300.4 in the amount of $17,855.11, 53,300.5 in the amount of $500, and 53,300.7 in the amount of $1,114.75. The total amount of the increase and decrease of the appropriation is $19,469.86.
And I make a motion that we move the money in those accounts, in those amounts.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, question. What is under the Public Works other benefits, the one you're taking, the 53300.4?
That normally would have been insurance.
Insurance?
Right.
Oh, okay.
Anything further? All in favor?
Roll call.
Yeah, you need a roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry for budget amendment. I apologize.
Supervisor Radke?
Yes.
Supervisor Wolf?
Yes.
Chairman Merrick?
Yes.
Supervisor Durr?
Aye.
And Supervisor Fisher?
Yes.
And on to I, announcement of the closed session. You are hereby notified that the town board of the town of Waukesha will convene and may, upon duly made and seconded and acted upon by roll call vote as required under Wisconsin Stats 1985 sub 1 sub C, go into closed session during the course of the meeting. Town board members may attend the closed session. The purpose of the closed session will be as follows: considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, specifically for the positions of clerk treasurer, deputy clerk treasurer, fire chief, fire inspector, and lead road assistants, and reconvene into open session to discuss and take action related to the subject of the closed meeting discussions or to conduct other noticed agenda matters. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to go into closed session.
Second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Fisher?
Aye.
Supervisor Durr?
Aye.
Supervisor Wolf?
Aye.
Supervisor Radke?
Aye.
Chairman Merrick?
Aye. And we will adjourn into closed session.